Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Talking with Top podcast. I'm your host, Tot Carter. Today's episode is sponsored by 93 Michi Beats. Forget your producer. My beats are made by Michi. All right, guys, I need you, if you like this content, I need you to subscribe, like, leave a comment, and let me know how you're enjoying these episodes that I'm bringing to you. Today on the show, we have author Nikki Nicole. Nikki have wrote several books, and she's also have launched some podcasts as well. Hello, Nikki.
Hello, how you doing?
Doing great. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So before we get started, go ahead and tell everybody, where are you from?
I'm from originally from South Carolina, but now currently residing in North Carolina.
All right, that's awesome. All right, so go ahead and introduce yourself and just tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Tell your story.
Well, I started my writing journey at 5 years old. I published a couple of poems in my teens, and writing was just an outlet for me. It was a way to express my feelings. That's how it started anyway. I always dreamed of being an author, but I never thought it would happen. So when I published my first book 2 years ago, I just couldn't stop after that. It became addiction for me. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna publish another book. So now I have 5 books. I have 3 poetry collections, a short story collection, and autobiography. They are also displayed in a museum, a gift shop, 3 libraries, and 4 high schools. Um,
Congratulations to you. That is awesome. Very impressive.
mhm. So I'm supposed to be releasing 2 books. I was supposed to actually release a book in February on launch date of the podcast, but I got behind. So hopefully those 2 books will be out in May on Mother's Day.
Awesome. That's one of the things that I am wanting to do also is to write an ebook. I'm very big on discovering your purpose. And so that's one of the things that I want to write about.
Hmm.
So what inspired you to become an author though? What inspired you
Well,
to
it
just do
start.
it?
I mean, at that point in time, I had got sick for a little bit. So sometimes when you're doing things, gotta slow you down. So I was slowed down for a year. I was really sick for a little while. I found out I had congestive heart failure. So at that point, I had to sit down for a second. So in that moment, I was sitting down. I guess that's when I realized my purpose. Then one of my purposes, because now I started writing. And I would spend late nights up just writing. And eventually I asked people, information about how to publish. I didn't know how to go about it. I just knew, okay, I have this book. Now what? So I did some research and found out that I can go on Amazon, I can go on
Yep.
Barnes and Nobles, and I didn't have to pay a dime. So I started the journey. I edited, formatted my book and everything, did my book covers and everything. Um, and published it with Amazon. And that day was just like sitting on cloud 9 when they told me your book is published to Amazon. I'm like, what? It was that easy? So besides doing that, I went through the copyright process, like with the Library of Congress, just to protect it, give it extra protection. So $65 was all it took for me to publish a book.
That is awesome. And I'm sure that information is going to really help someone else who's inspired to do that. I did interview another author that's how she got started too. She just wrote her story and she uploaded it onto Amazon that day because she was afraid that if she did not upload it, that she would back out of it because it was about her children and losing her children. And yes, you can get started just like that. And now she have wrote some more books too. So that's a great start.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, so you kind of mentioned those books. Make sure you go ahead and tell us the names to make sure if anyone wants to, find your book, how can they find it, and what's the name of the books again?
Okay, so my very first book was Family Ties. The reason why I wrote Family Ties was because it's basically about family. It's a collection of poetry about family, and I dedicated that to my family, basically. And different poems in that book was centered around certain people in my family, whether it was an aunt, an uncle, my mom, my father. So I wrote that book. I really didn't expect what I did expect, but it was actually my number one seller in the beginning, I guess, because people was like, wow, she finally did it. Um, the next book was called Portrait of My Soul. This is the one that's actually in a women's shelter. It mainly talks about the traumas in my life, things that I went through that I overcame, and it's also a collection of poetry. Mixed Emotions was a little different. It's short stories. It's not based on real life. It's just based on experience. It's like short stories with a cliffhanger to it, to make people think. That now is my actual bestseller now. Um, Camouflage was a series for my autobiography, Pieces of Me. That was the first series with that. And Family Ties sequel is the second part, the Family Ties. So it's the last poetry collection that I released.
Oh, I can just tell the passion that you have for it as you were speaking, and just opening up yourself to people like that. It takes a lot of courage.
It really does. And
Mhm.
you can find all of them on Amazon. I think the only one that's on Barnes and Nobles is Family Ties.
Okay.
But everything is on Amazon. I do have my own personal website, www.nickynicole.store. Normally when people go on my website, I package them up, personalize them, basically package them up and send them out and autograph. So
That's good. All right. So, what advice would you give the listeners if they wanted to write a book?
the first thing to doing anything is to start. If you
Okay.
don't take that first step, you're never going to do anything that you want to do in life. So my advice is to, if you have a passion, if you have something that you want to do, a dream, you got to first take the step to start it,
Mhm.
because that vision is going to be dead if you don't at least take the first step.
You're right.
I mean, people on the
Absolutely.
journey, they're not going to support you. You're going to have family that you think is going to support you. You're going to have friends that you think is going to support you. But you cannot let that deter you away from your purpose and your goal and the things that you want in life. Because there's people out there in the world, strangers, that are going to support you more than your family and friends will ever support you.
Absolutely. I'm talking about absolutely. And it's so funny that you said that, because I have reached out to some people that I've worked with, that I'm friends with, um, asking them to be interviewed. And sometimes they will open it up because, like if I'm doing Messenger and I'll see that they read it and they won't respond back. But what's so funny about that is that I have so many of my friends and things like that who, when I reached out to them, they were like, when? And I also have had people who reach out to me to be interviewed on my show. And to be honest with you, and I tell this all the time when I'm talking to other podcasts, I have a waiting list of people that I didn't told that I'm going to interview them. And I just haven't been able to get to the time because, I kind of do it based on, I will skip people and put other, people ahead sometime, but I still got people that I got to, interview now. And I do have family members who have literally just, I was at a family reunion. And as I was talking to my cousin, I was like, you want to interview? She was like, you can always get me. She said, but I got a friend right there and I have another girl. I got two people. And so she literally drugged me around our family reunion to two other girls just to put, me in contact with them, because it was some of her friends who was coming to our family reunion to support us. And she gave me two people right then. And she was like, you can get me later.
Wow.
So you're right when you say that. I mean, some people will support you and some don't, but the majority of the people who has been my biggest supporters have been people that I don't know,
Exactly.
who
But the thing,
faithfully watch my channel.
and the sad part about it is they'll come around eventually. But in the beginnings, no. When you start getting to a certain status and a certain point, then now they're gonna come around. They're gonna support you eventually. It's just not gonna be an initiation in the beginning.
Right, right. But for the most part, let me just not. I don't want to act like I don't get support from my family, because I do, because I am the family reunion organizer. And when I say that, when I have done that and started, man, my family have came and supported me and came out the woodwork. So I do get support. This is just another type of journey that I
Right.
have had. And for the most part, I would say 90% have been supportive. And I've just had a couple that, not responded or things like that. But it's been good. I've been meeting some amazing people
But see,
all over the
my
world.
journey as an author, when it comes to support was different from my journey as a podcaster.
Mm,
Um, my journey as an author, it seems like the support was there. Like
okay.
off gate. Like my family, they bought books. Like my brothers, my siblings, my aunts, my mom, they would come together because at that time I wasn't working. So they would come together and they would purchase, say, 20 books and they'll just give them to me and sell them, say sell them. And they didn't ask for anything back from that. They invested every single week and made sure I kept books to sell.
Oh, that's good.
Now, my journey as a podcaster, I guess is different because people are in the spotlight. So my mom came to me one day and she was like, you know what, when you gonna interview me? And I was like, come on. And she was like,
Right.
you need some family on that platform. You need some family on that platform. But I did interview a couple of my cousins,
Hmm.
did come on. So I have had appearances with family on here too that has supported me as well. So I can, I can say some of my family has stood. They stood in the
Right.
gaps and they have been there for me. And they said they're gonna help me get to the next level. So I
That
do
is so
have that.
awesome. So, how did you pivot into podcasting?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I have been planning this podcast for a year.
Okay.
I last year I was gonna launch it, and then something said, "You're not ready." I was nervous. I was scared for one, and I was wondering how people would actually take it. Finally, the person that's quiet is now getting behind this mic and can speak to everybody.
Right.
So that's why my slogan is "Unleash Your Inner Voice" because I'm really coming out of my shell too. I'm
Hmm.
breaking my own personal silence. So, with that being said, this was just big for me because now I'm living in my true purpose.
Hmm.
So, I pivoted there because I wanted to, at first, advertise my own brand for my books. And
Hmm.
then as the time went by, and then when it actually came to launch date, my vision came more and more clear. I wanted to shine the light on other people. I wanted to find a way to help other people and connect people to people so we all can win.
There you go.
And so, I mean, it takes a village to raise a child. So why doesn't it take a village to build one another? So it's the
It,
same difference.
right. That's awesome. Well, you pretty much answered my next question because you already kind of told me the purpose of your podcast. So, and you kind of answered this one a little bit earlier because I was going to ask, what's an obstacle that you had to overcome in life?
I can talk about a recent obstacle. So I don't know if you heard about this, but I have been attacked literally the whole time that I've had my platform on social media. Somebody reporting either my music that's I have rights to use with a written contract. They reported my music saying it's copywritten. If it's not that, it's something else. Here recently, they reported something advertisements for like flyers for bullying. 11 posts they removed. And they had it so bad too, I couldn't post on my own page.
Wow.
So I'm having to reconstruct another page because that page is to a point where I can't even communicate.
Wow.
Now, initially, it almost broke me. It did because when you living in your purpose, that
Mhm.
type of thing will take you to a whole nother level that people don't even know the understanding to it. Um, I cried all night long. I
No.
prayed all night long. I had people jumping in my inbox praying for me. I've had ministers on my platform and these ministers prayed for me. So I am a firm believer in what is for you is for you. And
Absolutely.
no weapons will be formed against you, especially when you're doing something good.
Right.
So after that cry, after that praying all night long and just And some say, you know what, pick yourself up. What you doing? You stand up. So I stood up the next morning. I stood up and I just started moving. I started moving in silence, and I'm like building another platform because I already had a following on Facebook at like 2,000 people.
Okay.
It came from like maybe 100 to 2,000. My reach was 13,000 people. That platform was built really well just to be starting out.
Right.
So I said, you know what? I don't care if I have to do one by one, name by name.
Right.
I'm gonna build it from the ground right back up, and
Right.
everything's gonna be fine. Everybody that supports me is gonna follow me wherever I go. So
Absolutely.
that obstacle just taught me that I'm stronger than what I think I am,
Yep.
which I've always knew that, but I really thought that was gonna break me. But how I overcame that is standing tall
Mhm.
and trusting in God that He's gonna lead this way. He's gonna guide me where I need to go, and everything's gonna be all right. So you gotta have
Absolutely.
faith. You gotta have faith in anything you do anyway.
You do. That's how I found you on social media through Danny's platform. So absolutely. I want to share with the audience that I was very impressed by your interview that you had with her. And I was reached out. Well, I reached out to her and I let her know. And she's like, okay, yeah, I stood up. And I was like, me, I always like to cut out the middleman too. So I was like, I'll go direct myself. But absolutely. So I'm glad that you are, getting you another page going so that you can continue to do the work that you're doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. So, what inspired you into entrepreneurship and to invest in yourself?
Well, entrepreneurship actually began with my photography business.
Okay.
I used to take pictures. It started off as Unforgettable Moments, and then I changed the name to Myers and Myers Photography. Taking pictures is a hobby. I realized
Hmm.
that it was a hobby and not a passion.
Gotcha.
So I started there, and when I realized that, hey, I don't think this is for me. I'm just gonna move right along. So that's where it initially started. And then I came up with Breaking the Silence when I first published my first book, and I said, okay, Breaking the Silence. Breaking the Silence has so many levels of. It's so many things that I'm gonna do with Breaking the Silence that I can't even speak it in one sentence or even a paragraph. So
Gotcha.
Breaking the Silence initially started off as a place where people can come to me and get publishing advice.
Okay.
And I can give them publishing tips. And I still may eventually have a publishing company tied to it as well. And I still help people. I had somebody actually reach out to me recently to help them get their book off the ground.
Gotcha.
So I don't charge people I don't gatekeep. If I can help you, I'm going to help you. I mean,
Yes.
it's just that simple because I'm going to be blessed regardless. And that's
Mhm.
how you get your blessings. That's how you keep your blessings flowing when you help people,
You're
period.
so right. I don't
So,
gatekeep either.
I mean, you have to sow that seed. So I don't mind if people reach out. People reach out to me on a daily asking me questions, can you help me with
Mhm.
this? Sure. Why not?
Mhm.
But it started off as a publishing company slash I was doing publishing, cover letters, resume building. Like I still do that type of stuff for people if they need business letters. I'm trying to transition into the notary part of it as well.
Okay.
And get into the schools and try to help the children there, build their resume because it's so important for them to get out in this world and find a job. You have to have that resume. People are not,
Right.
and it has to be like a snapshot. Like people are not taking the time to read resumes like they used to.
No, not at
So
all.
um I'm trying to do that as well, and also incorporate my scholarship into that too, to try to give them a scholarship. I did give a scholarship out for the Fallen Angels scholarship. I created that because of all the people in my family that has passed away in remembrance of them.
Oh, okay.
So I have given two scholarships from that. I haven't been active with it like I need to be, but I'm trying to get back into it again so I can at least help some type of college student go to school because I do believe in education. Um,
Absolutely.
but that's how it started. It started off with that and my writing, and then eventually from my writing, then I ventured out into podcasting.
Gotcha.
And I
All right.
mean,
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and eventually, I mean, I hope that one day I will have a studio, but right now I have to work full time until I get there.
Yeah. Trust me, I know about that. I work a 9 to 5 as well. So what advice would you give someone who wants to start a podcast?
Well, same advice for writing. You got to start.
Yeah.
You got to start. You got to do a lot of research. Every
Mm-hmm.
day you have to research not just really the industry itself, but just researching period. When it
Mm-hmm.
comes down to your graphics, when it comes down to your production of things, how things are lined up, you have to research your equipment, making sure that you have the proper mics, making sure that you have everything that you need to properly convey that interview, do that interview with somebody. I started off with, what did I start off with? My daughter bought the initial first equipment I started off with was a little incy bincy audio face and not a Bluetooth, a YouTube, not YouTube, I say YouTube, USB microphone. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it works, the simple stuff work. But as you go along, you realize that okay, USB is not the answer.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna need that XLR mic. You're gonna need your arm. You're gonna need that pop filter. You're gonna need a speaker amplifier. But that comes from research. So
Right.
you have to research. You have to look at other people's podcasts. I told somebody the other day, it was like, how do you come up with your production? I said, I watch everybody else's podcast and I do the opposite.
Oh.
She buzzed out laughing. She said, "You crazy?" I said, "I'm serious though. I want to be different. I don't want to be like everybody else."
Right.
But I watch their podcast just as I support, and I also watch it because I want to see what they're doing differently, so I can do
Right.
the opposite. And it's just that simple. I want to be different.
Yeah, you do have to look at some to see something that you can tweak or something that you like that somebody's doing or not doing. Or yeah, because I looked at a podcast yesterday and it was just a bunch of I don't even know what they were talking about. So I strive to make sure that people know what we're talking about. And I looked at that and it was just a bunch of gibberish. So yeah.
And I do understand too, like when I do go on other podcasts, I think because I have my own way of doing things, I
Mm-hmm.
tend to be on a level of how I do things. So I'm like, see, you was on point though. You sent me the questions, you prepared me completely. So that's the kind of stuff I be looking for. And I go in early because I know I do understand that you have to check audio. You do have to check video. So a lot of times people come in right at the time. And I'm a stickler with starting on time. So
Mm-hmm.
unless we're talking and we're troubleshooting and everything, then that's different. But I've learned a lot by going on other podcasts as a guest, being on the other side, how I'm like, am I too structured? I don't know.
I was a little too structured at first because I was reading my stuff and I had to relax and learn the stuff that I needed to do, which I was given a whole thing on my intro. It was so long. I was given a long introduction of the person and I cut that down because that stuff comes out in the interview. And so I had to retweak myself because when I first started, I was doing a lot of this. And so I'm getting better with that. But yeah, you'll look at some things and just I always want to get better each episode. So I do go back and look at things to see where I can make improvements too.
Mhm. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to take the good with the bad in order to get better. But in the beginning, I actually had my iPad and I had it like sitting in front of me where I can kind of see it, but you still can see me, looking at something. But my daughter came up with this idea. I don't know if you want to try this, the teleprompter. You can put it on the screen.
Yeah, I have a projector and it was making noise, but we'll talk about that offline though, because I definitely want to know about that because that's one of the things that I do have to tweak in my yeah.
Because I mean, you have to be scripted a little bit, a little bit,
Mhm.
but the actual interview itself, of course, that's the laid back part where you can ask the question and everything leads to the next question. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, I want to say this too. When I first started interviewing people, I would do a whole pre-interview with them on the phone, and then we would do it. And then as I went on, I was like, I don't need to do that. I cut that all the way out because
Mm-mm.
I started to just look on their social media. I pretty much got my questions. I use some of the same questions because it's always going to be a different conversation.
Mm.
And that just cut my time in half because I was, doing too much of focusing on, I would do a pre-interview and then it messed me up because what will happen is the person will tell your story, they'll tell that story to you then, and then when it's time to shoot, they telling it to you like you already know. So
Right.
I like for it to just come out fresh. So I stopped that. So
Well, somebody
absolutely.
asked me why don't I do the pre-interview? Because when I reach out to somebody, I already know why I want them. I
Right.
already did my research.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason why I need to have a pre-interview when I already know they're a good fit for the platform.
Right.
You're just
Mm-hmm.
wasting time, talking to them at that point. And I always ask them to send me a bio. And I take their bio and that's what I get my questions from.
Mm-hmm.
So now, I have that bio, I know a little bit about you, and now I know how to go forth with asking you questions. And sometimes they don't give bios. And I have to
Right.
do my research. I have to go on their different platforms, their websites and stuff like that. But it's research. That's all it is in podcasting. Research, all day, every day.
Right. I just started doing a bio myself because I'm starting to do more interviews with other people. And so I created a bio for that to, have something so they'll know what they're getting when they get me on their platform. So you're right. It's all those little things that you can tweak and that you have to study and go over because it makes a difference. And one other thing I would say, I know pretty much when a person is not going to show up.
Thank God I ain't had that problem yet.
I've had that. I've had it even with friends. And it's like, my thing is, I do a whole big to do to put on makeup and all of this stuff. And I'm like, I do not want to waste my makeup and a person don't show up. So I got it down to what I do. I do a thing where I call check in, where I, like an hour before or whatever, I'm going to reach out because I'll go ahead and set it to them and I'll check in and just let them know I'll see you in an hour. If everything is going good, then I know that, okay, it's on because I don't want to do all of this and then you say no. And I'm like, I'm sitting with a full face of makeup to do what? Like, no. So yeah, I learned that early on.
But do you use Calendly?
You know what? I was going to ask you about that. I don't, but I saw that you used it. And that's one of the things I want to incorporate into because I just started using the Zoom calendar. But yes.
The
Yeah.
Calendly, you can set up what they call workflows, and it sends out. Though, see, you got to cut out the extra stuff so you can get some more time. That
Right.
they'll send out your notification for you. Like you just set it. Like if you want them to
Is
say
it free?
something,
What's the price? Is it a service for
it's
that? Like,
$20 a month.
okay, gotcha. That's
They'll
cool.
send it out if you say 2 weeks, you say 24 hours, you say 2 hours. They're pushing all that stuff out to them automatically.
Plus, I like how it looks. It looks more professional. So that's worth the investment. All right, so we're going to get to the part where it's on a personal note. Um, so this is where I just ask you just random questions. One of the things, let's see. So, what do people misunderstand about you?
I think people misunderstand me expressing myself. What I mean by that is I could try to express how I'm feeling and automatically I'm hot-headed. It's not that I'm hot-headed, it's just I'm trying to get my point across. And it may seem that way. So I think people misunderstand that when I'm really trying to express myself about something, they think I'm mad or they think that I'm hot-headed for whatever reason at the time. No, I'm not hot-headed, but I'm about to get mad because I'm trying to express myself.
Oh my, sounds like myself. All right, so what is next for you?
Well, hopefully I can finish these two books. When Love Speaks is another short story collection that leads from Mixed Emotions. I left Mixed Emotions on a total cliffhanger, so that's supposed to be the next book to come out for that. And people are already asking for that book. Like, when are you gonna do this? But I just haven't had time. And on Mother's Day, I'm supposed to launch my book Motherhood. It's about my journey as a single mother.
Okay.
Um, so hopefully things work out where I can get some time and I can go ahead and finish both of them. I'm trying to get a newsletter together for Breaking the Silence and an actual column called Author Nikki Nicole column. So hopefully if I can get that all together, I don't want to say when because I really don't know when until I
Right.
start doing everything to create it. So right now, those are the things that's coming up, and I'm gonna do a motherhood drive on Mother's Day, where I'm gonna go and give away wipes, diapers, clothing, or anything to like single mothers or mothers, period, just to help
Okay.
them out on their journey because I do realize how hard it can be, especially
Yes.
being a single mother,
Absolutely.
raising kids. So that's one that's to my heart. That'll be my second project of the breaking the silence. Cause I went out on launch day and gave out bags to the homeless. Like it was
Oh, that's
bags with like I got a video out there somewhere on Facebook. I gave like deodorant, combs, brushes, shampoo, pretty much anything that they would need to survive, snacks, a washcloth, and they were so grateful for me doing that. So I do plan to repeat that and hopefully do a book bag drive for the kids coming up,
okay.
and a toy drive and a winter drive in December for the winter. So
That is
trying.
so awesome. I love that. All right. So, what do you do for fun?
When I saw that question, I was like, what do I do for fun? I mean, I'm a family person. I love my family, so I spend time with my family when I can. Like we may go out to eat or bowling or something like that, skating. And that's about it. I mean, listen to music.
Right. I like to skate too. I love ancestry. So, that's another thing I do for fun.
Hmm.
All right. And if you was to win the lottery, what would you do with it?
First thing first, I would have to make sure that I'm debt free. I have my business locked in. Definitely gonna be 100% entrepreneur. Then business is gonna be popping up everywhere.
Right.
Um, and I would before I even do any of that, I've got to give back to God
Oh,
because
absolutely.
he's the reason why I have it to begin with. So I would have to give back to God, and I would have to find a way to help my church. Um, and one project I was thinking about is trying to get something there for the kids, a computer room or something where they can be tutored and they can gain more knowledge, maybe read some books, something like that when it comes to my church. And
Yeah.
then after that, I'm just gonna give back because there's so many people in my area that are homeless, and some of
Mhm.
those people out there are veterans, they're elderly people, and it really breaks my heart to see the elderly people out there. You don't have no kids, like it just I don't like to see stuff like that. So a homeless shelter will be in something that I would have to have in place to
Mhm.
help them. And definitely I would have to go back to my own hometown and put jobs in place where places like we don't have a bowling alley there. We don't have a skate we have a skating ring and another like in between the cities, but no bowling alley, no mall or anything like that. And
Mm.
eating, when I go home, I'm going home this weekend. So when I go home, I hate the choices of food. It's basic like Burger King or KFC, something like that. So I would definitely want to put something like that in my hometown. So it'll just be give back time.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. And our last question is, what is your favorite Bible verse?
I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mhm. Yeah, you have to have that mindset to just know that God is everything, and that's how we get our strength. And with Him, you can do everything. And so that I know from just personal things that has gone on in my life that without God, I just cannot do anything. So,
Nothing is possible. Nothing. He
right.
wrote the story. He wrote the chapters. All we have to do is follow him and try to defeat everything that the devil throws at us. That's it.
Yes, well, I have enjoyed our time here today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Tell everybody how they can follow you on social media and support you.
You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Breaking the Silence Podcast.
Mhm.
I'm on TikTok as Author Nikki Nicole. I'm on Instagram as Breaking the Silence 24. I have my website, NikkiNicole.store. I'm reconstructing Facebook right now, and I don't really want to say what that page is right now. So And when I get it up and going on Facebook the way I need to, then you can follow me on Facebook as well.
So, and what do you have on your store? So what are the items that you sell there?
Well, right now it's just my books. I did publish a book for my son. He collection of poetry for him. So his book is up there as well, along with
Okay.
my books. I'm working on, that's another thing, I'm working on merch too. I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
get t-shirts and stuff like that too. So eventually all of that stuff will be on the website too.
All right. All right, guys, you can follow me on, I want y'all to focus more on my YouTube channel and make sure that you're subscribing to Talking with Tot podcast. Also, follow me on Instagram with Talking with Tot. That's where I want to focus on going forward. All right, so until next time, guys, go out there, do something for somebody, make somebody's day. All right, you want to go ahead and tell them bye, Nikki?
Y'all have a wonderful day. Make sure you bless someone today.
All right, thank you.